Hey, everybody, I'm meteorologist Andy Parker. It is great to have you along tonight. We are talking total solar eclipse. It's coming up quicker than you think. April 8th is when it arrives, and we have everything you need to know. Some great information, awesome images, and of course, your questions and comments. We can see them. All you have to do is pop them in there, and we'll be able to answer them as we go. Let's talk about the schedule of events, shall we? This is when it happens. We all know it's April 8th, but it begins at 2:04 in the afternoon, then continues till we get totality from 3:18 to 3:20. Buffalo, New York is right on the center line, and we are going to have one of the best views in the nation when it comes to right in the center line of totality. We have one of the longest totalities, and then after that, we'll go back to the partial eclipse, and it will be over for about another 100 years here in Western New York. Hey, if you like what you see tonight, please give it a quick like and a share. Take 1 second of your time. One mouse click goes a long way in helping us out. As I mentioned, we can see everything that you type in on the side screen and are happy to answer your questions. It's not just me tonight, but it is panel of esteemed experts. They have their feet on the ground, their eyes to the sky, and their heads are often in the heavens. That is right. It's the Buffalo Astronomical Association. Everybody say hello at once.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
All right. Everybody's here. We're just waiting for some questions. As we get going, I wanted to start with one of the best videos I think I've seen of the eclipse. I'm going to pop this in, and we're going to start it back at the beginning. Now, let me freeze it right here. This was taken in 2017 in Pikeville, Tennessee. And let's talk about the different pieces of the eclipse. When we talk about the partial eclipse, this is the piece that lasts for more than an hour, but it's not the most spectacular part of the equation or the eclipse, is it?
No,
That's correct.
we often say the less than totality, the partials less than 1% the experience. Totality is the big show.
Now, when we get to totality, there's a couple of things that happen very quickly, but they're the most spectacular from what I understand. The diamond ring. Who wants to tell me a little bit about the diamond ring, how it forms, why it's there, and why it's so special?
Well, diamond ring is going to be just that last major bit of sunshine that's shining through on the moon just before we go to Bailey's bead. So it's that last little bit of brilliant light coming through.
And how long does that last? Is it a blink and you miss it type of thing, or what are we looking at there?
You get a few seconds on it, but yeah, you really got to catch it.
Yeah. And then after that, what is this? Bailey's beads. Now, I've learned about this just recently. I think you guys have known about it for a while. How long does this last after the diamond ring? And is this something pretty much anybody can see?
Yeah, actually, it depends on where you are on the eclipse track. Those closer to the edge of the eclipse track will get more Bailey's beads than the people in the center because of the way the moon slides across. But it doesn't last all that long. 3 or 4 seconds maybe. You sort of, if you blink, you miss it.
Is it a rare thing, or is this something that will happen pretty much anytime there's an eclipse?
This will happen anytime there's an eclipse. The hard part with watching it going into totality is because usually you want to keep your eclipse glasses on until the last possible minute. And sometimes you miss this. But you get the opportunity to see it when it comes out.
Another interesting say what causes Bailey's beads, though. Bailey's beads is caused by all the rough surface of the moon. The moon isn't flat, so that's what causes the Bailey's beads.
Roger that. After the Bailey's beads, now we're into totality. This is where the moon completely covers the sun disk. Is that correct?
That's correct, Andy. That's the point that the corona is showing. The moon
this is the point
moon
where
is completely blocking out the sun.
Can you remove your glasses at this point? Okay. Is this without having any damage?
Yep, it's totally safe. As soon as the sun is totally eclipsed, matter of fact, if you're wearing your eclipse glasses, you can tell when it's totally eclipsed because you can't see anything anymore. As soon as you can't see anything through your eclipse glasses and it's not due to clouds, you take your eclipse glasses off and then it's perfectly safe to look at totality.
All right.
This is the only time that you can see the corona too. So yeah, you definitely want to catch it.
I thought this picture was
see the craters on the moon as well if you have a pair of binoculars.
I was just going to say, can you use binoculars? You can use some enhancement at this point to go and view this. These are the craters on the moon, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's correct.
Okay, I'm gonna throw a quick plug in here. Dan, who's over at my screen down at the bottom, He's the one who shot this image. And we show this image a lot because the sun is behind the moon here, and this moon is lit by Earthshine. So it's light reflecting off the Earth hitting the moon.
That is awesome. That is really neat. Now, following this, we exit totality, and then it goes kind of backwards, right? We start to see those Bailey's beads, but this time on the opposite side.
Yeah, and the one thing you want to note, though, on the side, you'll notice some solar prominences, which are more or less plasma jets coming off the side of the sun. You want to take advantage of seeing those, too.
Those will be visible to the naked eye, do you think?
They will. They will.
Wow.
Especially larger ones.
And then there come the now the Bailey's beads. From what I've read, those are craters on the moon that allow the sunlight to pass through. Is that correct?
That's close. They're actually valleys between mountain peaks that are receiving sunlight, so you can actually witness topography on the edge of the moon.
Wow. And then following that, we're back into the partial eclipse. This lasts an hour, and then I guess the final kiss goodbye is right about here where they exit.
Yes.
And that's it for another 100 years, right?
120.
Yep. 120 years.
Mark your calendars.
We are taking your questions. All we ask in return is that you guys give this a like and a share. That would be awesome. Brian is saying, hey, this is his birthday on April 8th. Well, how lucky are you? That is awesome.
Wow.
And then we also have Jocelyn saying,
happy birthday. Now you have a theme.
There we go. Yeah.
More present.
Baked into the equation. Jocelyn says she's hoping for good weather on that day. I think no one more than you guys are hoping for good weather on this one. And because, boy, it's going to be a neat image. Hey, let's talk about timing on this. This is a map of the path of where the totality and the shadow of the sun is going to, or the moon is going to hit the Earth. Before we get there, I want to pop this up. This is one of the graphics you guys wanted to use that kind of explains how this works. You've got the sun position there, and what happens, the moon goes between the Earth and the sun, correct?
Correct. That's right.
Correct.
And then there's two different types of shadows. You want to explain that real quick?
Sure. The lighter shadow on the outside is the penumbra, and the darker shadow in the middle is the umbra, and that's what will actually be in totality.
Gotcha. And it's the umbra that's the darkest part, and that's the part that we're hopefully going to get a view of. So if it was the opposite, if the moon was on the outside, now you're getting something called the lunar eclipse, right?
Yes. And you'll notice here that the umbra is much wider, so the Earth casts a much bigger shadow onto the moon, and the red is simply caused by viewing Earth's atmosphere from the sun getting reflected back onto the surface of the moon. So you're seeing the combined effects of every sunrise and sunset on Earth casting back on the moon.
And while you have those two graphics up, one of the things to let people know, the solar eclipse, when you have a solar eclipse 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after, you have a lunar eclipse. And this year it's going to be on March 25th. It's not going to be that spectacular, but it is going to be there.
It will be there. All right. Let's go back to this one because I think we're getting some timing questions on it. And when we look at this, it starts to hit the Earth and begins in Mexico. You can see that's North America position there. And that first shadow that's approaching the Great Lakes, that's going to be the partial eclipse. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes,
right,
That's correct.
great. And then I had a question here. Someone says, how long will it last? Cheryl wants to know, how long will the solar eclipse last? So if we watch it from here and we start to bring in that partial eclipse, if that comes in just after 2 o'clock, it's about a little more than an hour. And you see that purple line, that line in the middle with the purple. Now that's the shadow of the total eclipse, correct?
Yes, that's totality.
So it arrives. It only takes an hour or two to come across the entire United States.
Yeah, this one's an hour and a quarter.
Hour and a quarter. So you're in there, you're in the partial, and then you're only in the total. I mean, that moves right over us in a matter of minutes, right?
Yeah, 3 minutes and 46 seconds.
It doesn't seem like a long time, but compared to other spots around the nation, that's actually a pretty big chunk of time, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, other places are just getting a partial or they're only getting a piece of it when you're looking at it. And one of the things I did want to point out, a lot of people don't know, in 2017, it was an eclipse. This one is 3 times wider than the one in 2017. And it's just because of the angles and the positions. So that's what makes this one exceptionally special, not only being in Buffalo, but it's going to cover more metropolitan areas, and more people will be able to see this eclipse than some of the other earlier ones.
Yeah, that is really neat. I'm going to pop this one back up. We have a bunch of people that just came in the room. We're starting to get a bunch of questions. Want to let everybody know that we're going to pop your questions on the screen and allow you to get some answers to them as we go through this. All we ask is that you give us a quick like and a quick share to the stream. That would be an awesome thing from everybody out there to get this information out and allow our panel of experts to disseminate all of their information to everybody who's watching. Let me go ahead and pop a couple on the screen here. We've backlogged a few, and I see this one here. Laura says, hi, everybody. Great to have you along. We've got another hi, Andy. Hey, Lisa. Great to have you in here. It's always a pleasure to see your name pop up. Best places to watch in Western New York with a safe view, big screen scientist commentary live. What do you think about best places to watch? Anybody have an opinion locally?
I'll be right in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah, Buffalo.
I'm going to be partial to Resurgence Brewery because that's where I am. We're going to have a half acre of real estate down there. Huge screens. You can watch them on the screens. You can look up and see it. And that'll be fun on April 8th. But where do you guys, if you had to pick a place, if you were going to be here, I know a lot of folks are heading out of town for a better view, but what do you think?
There's Outer Harbor. There's the Outer Harbor. There's Knox Farms. I believe Hamburg Fairgrounds. The Outer Harbor would probably be a great place because it's going to be very close to center line, and you know, you're going to have very wide open horizons.
Yeah, Tim and I will be at Outer Harbor. Rick is going to be at Java. He's going to be at Beaver Meadow. And he's going to be doing actually 2 programs. So if you miss a lot of things, you may want to go in because he's going to explain what happens during the eclipse and give you a lot of good information. But what's interesting, since we're on center line, and we're the only major city on center line in the way it works, just about any place in Buffalo is a good place to see it. You can sit in your backyard, just look up and see it. It'll be great.
Yeah, piece of cake. When it comes right over our houses, it's pretty easy. David wanted to know, can you wear glasses all the way through the eclipse?
Well, that's an interesting question.
No.
You can, but you probably shouldn't. You'll miss totality if you do. So
totally
you'll definitely want to flip those up when totality hits.
And you don't want to wear them when you're driving.
No, very bad idea. Do not wear eclipse glasses when you're driving. Hey, Kelly says this is very easy to understand. Laura says she can't wait for this once-in-a-lifetime event. We talked about how long it would last. Frank is saying this is an awesome presentation. We appreciate it. A lot of the images that you're seeing here today are from the Buffalo Astronomical Association, and some of the videos you'll see there as well. Roseanne is in. She says a great explanation as well. I got to say these are a little bit partial, but we'll go with it. Great presentation. Everybody's excited. Can you guys sense the excitement from Western New York?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Totally.
Everybody I talk to, it's an awesome experience.
How hard was it to get this picture that we're looking at right now, Dave? If you notice, there's an airplane over top of the sun. That was planned, right?
Yeah, this well-composed image. Very lucky. That was 100% luck.
Wow, but that is pretty cool. All right, here's the million-dollar question, and we've waited till now to answer it. But what happens if it's cloudy? Does anybody want to cover that one?
Yeah, it's like having a $1 million lottery ticket 1 digit off. You get real excited, but no prize. You want to be where it's clear.
So we've got a video in here, and I want to start with this one. Now, this is a very, very compressed time lapse, but here it is. You can see a lot of clouds on the horizon. And again, this was one that you guys furnished to me. And as we watch it,
actually, those clouds on the horizon, we actually saw totality. Even with all those clouds, totality was absolutely gorgeous in that location.
So it does. Look at how it takes a while to get dark. And then once it does, it's dark enough. The street lights should come on, and it really should act as if it's the middle of the night, right?
No, it never gets quite that dark. Think more like about 15, 20 minutes after sunset. The sky's still got a blue tinge to it. It doesn't really get dark. You get dark enough for the street lights to come on.
But in that image, take a look at the horizons. You see how the sunset is going completely across it? It's 360 degrees.
So it's all of that. It's kind of almost a twilight is what you would call it then.
Exactly.
Correct. Yeah.
That's excellent. Hey, here's a question. Now, Ariel, a lot of these folks just came into the room. Ariel has a question. When can we take on and put off the sunglasses. So this is the stage. Errol, first of all, great question. Thanks for popping them in. If anybody else has questions out there, feel free to put them on there. At the partial eclipse, when the moon is taking a bite out of the sun, this is definitely glasses on, right?
Right.
Yes.
That's correct.
Correct. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now the diamond ring right before 317, is this a glasses on or glasses off event?
You're going to want to get your hands on your glasses.
Yeah,
at the
you're going to be
ring.
ready.
This is a get ready. And then the Bailey's beads, that is a glasses optional. You can be pulling them off at that point.
This is get set.
Yeah. And what I would recommend, I would recommend not.
That's go.
I would not recommend taking them off, but I would recommend flipping them up onto your head, because not only does the temperature drop when totality hits, but as you know, Andy, the wind will kick up a little bit too. And if you put those glasses down when the wind kicks up, you may not have them again when totality ends. So best to keep them on your head and then flip them back down. So
good idea. I like that. That's how I wear my regular sunglasses anyway.
Right. And when you lose them, somebody can always just say, hey, they're on your head, and then you're good.
That's always good. Where did I put my glasses? Someone says, I'm going to Bison Stadium, Chestnut Ridge Park. Another person, Lisa, says, where's the best place to watch? I think we covered it pretty much right outside your door. But I know you guys would put an asterisk on that, outside your door, unless it's going to be sunny 20 miles away, in which case, if someone is in Cheektowaga and it's not going to be sunny there, but we know you go to Chestnut Ridge and it's sunny, is it worth making the drive 20 minutes to go see this without clouds?
120%, yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have to worry about it.
I know they're going to put these on the screens up there, but so it is worth going. It's better to see it. Some people say, well, I'll just watch it on TV. It doesn't even compare, does it?
No, it's like watching a sunset. If you've ever taken a picture of a sunset and then you look at the picture and the picture looks nothing like the sunset that you remember, in real life is just super spectacular.
You owe it to yourself to see one of these in person once in your life. And we have an opportunity to be within driving distance of that happening. And it's really a great opportunity.
Yeah. Hey, when we say once in a lifetime, I mean, the last one occurred on January 24th, 1925. And I don't know, no one came out to be interviewed on that one that says, I remember it. As the newspaper writes it, 99 years ago, it was a cloudy day in the city, but there were some parts that did get a view of it. And that one wasn't even as spectacular as this one is going to be because of the way you described it. This one is actually larger and longer, correct?
Yes.
Correct. Yes.
And then the next one, if you missed this one, in the United States, obviously there's going to be one in 44, 45, but it's not near us. The next one, if you wanted to walk out your door and see one, you'd have to wait for the next century.
Yeah, 2144.
Yep. Before it comes back to New York. That is a long time. It's definitely worth going out and checking it out. This is one I know there's a lot of information out there. Can you keep your pets indoors or should you let them go outdoors? What do you think?
Pet won't care. It's smart enough not to look at the sun.
Yeah, to them it's just a day. The only thing that's really, and just to point out, I mean, we like to tell everybody, the sun is the same. Actually, the sun is not brighter. It's actually dimmer because there's something in front of it. We're the ones who are different. We're the ones who are looking at the sun, trying to see what's going on, and doing all those things that we're trying to. Usually, you look away, but we're doing that. But pets don't care. Actually, you want to take a look at your pets. Some of them will start to bed down because they'll think it's getting nighttime.
Yep. Here's one. Live in Philly, but coming back home to see it. Do you think a lot of folks are going to travel back to see this, or even if they're not from here, do you think that this is going to be an area that people are going to travel to in order to see this event in Buffalo?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, there are estimated over 1 million people coming to Buffalo.
Cool.
Most definitely. Keep in mind, Centerline's out over Lake Erie. There's not a whole lot of space where you're on Centerline on the edge of Lake Erie. Canada's going to want to come in. The whole eastern seaboard is going to want to come up to our neck of the woods if it's clear. That's provision if it's clear. You expect major traffic immediately after the eclipse.
Centerline, as Dan said, Centerline spends 186 miles over Lake Erie when it leaves Cleveland, and it leaps back into Lake Ontario just before Rochester for 86 more miles. So for serious eclipse chasers that want to be on center line, they're all going to come to the 68-mile stretch we call Western New York. And that's why
otherwise you've got to go west of Cleveland. Doesn't get it center line. You have to actually drive further than Cleveland.
Yes.
Hey, I want to bounce through a few of these because we had a bunch of them come in here, and it says for the diamond ring, should you have the glasses on or not? Let me go ahead and bring that graphic back up. This was the one that was on, but get ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My advice,
get ready.
Yeah. My advice is to keep the glasses on for the diamond ring. You'll see it. Mostly because you'll dazzle your night vision and you'll lose your night vision for when you've got the total eclipse, and you want to keep your night vision for as much as possible because you want to be able to see Jupiter. You want to be able to see Mercury, maybe even the double comet that's out.
Hey, John Zimmerman says, will we see it in Orchard Park? So what can we say to John? Let's assume the weather's good.
Yes, John.
Yes.
218.
Definitely.
All right. Why is it dangerous for our eyes? I know nobody in here is a retinal specialist, but I've heard enough. And does anyone in here? I know you guys do safety trainings, and you've been doing this for a number of months, preparing kids and adults for all the negative things that could happen. If you don't wear the glasses, or you take them off and you leave them off for too long, what is the damage? Can you explain how that damages your eye?
Prolonged exposure causes solar retinopathy, and that is more of a photochemical reaction to your eye. So you actually get damage on your retina by developing a channel in your eye, which can or cannot, or may or may not heal. It may take a month. It may take a year. I'm sure somebody else has more to add to that.
The sun is not that much different, and people can add to this. But what happens is the amount of damage, your eye can repair itself, but the ability to repair is directly proportional to the amount of damage that's caused. So if it's a little bit of damage, it's easy to repair, but the more damage, the more harder it is for it to repair itself.
Yeah, the issue is going to be if you have partially cloudy skies, because just like on a beach, you get a cloudy day on the beach and you forget to put the sunscreen on, you can get a nice sunburn. Well, you can get an ultraviolet burn on your retina as well. So you have to be exceptionally careful. If you can't see your shadow, one piece of advice we've got is if you use your cell phone, you can look at the cell phone screen on your camera and image the sun that way. As soon as you can see your shadow, now you've got much more light intensity. Now it's time to put the glasses back on and get your camera off of the sun because you don't want to hurt the camera. But the advantage of the camera is you can replace it. You can't replace your eyes.
Yeah. Hey, Kelly wants to know, how much will the temperature drop? Since you guys have lived through a number of these already, is it a palpable amount? Is you going to have to put your jacket on, or is it just kind of in the evening when the sun goes down, you see that?
It can go between 10 and 20 degrees. So yeah, you'll want to have a jacket near you.
That's a significant, especially if it's starting off at 40.
Yeah. The other thing is you have the sunshine shining on you. 40 degrees in sunshine is pretty warm in your hands. But as soon as you turn off the sun, even at 40 degrees and no sunshine, your hands, you just get cold.
Yep. Hey, Rose is asking, can you wear just sunglasses? I know the immediate answer is yes. She says she's legally blind and she wears those black glasses. What would you recommend?
No, don't wear those.
Absolutely not.
You have to get solar glasses.
Yeah.
You have to.
You would need over 1,000 sunglasses to properly protect your eyes.
Hotels are already sold out, but I don't think I have to tell you that. Anybody that was looking for a hotel, those are long gone, right? How about this one? We've got Williamsville. James wants to know Williamsville versus downtown Buffalo. Does anybody have an opinion on that one?
If you got a good site where you've got long sight distance, low horizons, Williamsville just as good as any place.
Yep. Being from Williamsville myself, pretty good place to go. If you don't want to get out into the traffic.
That is correct. You guys have seen in the places you've gone before, has there been a significant uptick in traffic? Do you find that the highways are jammed? Does that really happen? I know people are kind of in disbelief, assuming we get a decent weather day for it. Is that something that you've actually experienced before?
Yeah. After the eclipse, after the eclipse in 2017, the traffic was horrendous. We stayed at our location, but we could see the roads were pretty well clogged.
Wow.
We did a program, the Buffalo Eclipse Consortium. And we asked other locations from 2017 what were the biggest issues. And number one was Eclipse glasses, and number two was traffic.
Is it worse than a Bills game?
Well, that's the funny thing. We like to call it the tailgate effect because people will come in on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to be ready for Monday. But the minute totality is over, people realize they have to get up and they have to leave, especially those who are coming in for the day because they couldn't get a hotel room. So, yeah, it's like everybody gets up and gets out, but it's not just the stadium, it's the entirety of Western New York. So, yeah, it's worse.
Gotcha. Hey, you guys have all taken pictures of this. Karen wants to know, she bought a filter for her phone to take pictures. Will this be okay?
Yes, it will. There's a program called, or actually an app called Solar Snap that'll help her do that. During the partial phases, she needs to filter over all of her lenses on the phone. During totality, you do not need a filter. You can just take straight pictures. But Solar Snap is the app to use. It'll help her take the pictures.
Gotcha. Hey, how do you identify legitimate Eclipse glasses and not?
Great question. Great question.
ISO.
Ernie's got it.
There's an ISO. Proper glasses should refer to ISO 12312-2. It should also list the manufacturer, and the American Astronomical Society list reputable manufacturers. But really, the best test is if you put the glasses on and point them towards a bright light. At most, what you should see should just be a hint of the very bright filament. If you see anything more than that, if you can see through the glasses, then worse, if they're holes, don't use those glasses.
Gotcha. All right. Next one up is at what part of the event can we take pictures safely? Because everybody's going to want to do something with their cell phone. When is it safe to do that?
Totality.
Without filter, from diamond ring to diamond ring.
So once you that last bit of tap, when you see that last bit of light, and then you have the just around the edges, and then the totality, those are safe. And then obviously it'd be like taking a picture of the sun on any other day, which would not be advisable and never would work out. Can you put a lens from the Eclipse glasses over your camera to protect the camera, says David?
You can if you fix it so the lens of the camera can only look through the filter material and you don't let any other light through to hit the lens.
Which is very difficult to do. It'll work with a phone, but with a typical camera lens, the eyeglasses are too small. You're better off trying to buy batter or Thousand Oaks film from a vendor and making a quick makeshift filter. You'd be much better off.
All right. Hey, Bob has a comment. I want to bounce this off you guys. He says he's afraid too many people will experience the eclipse through their phone by holding it up to take a look and see what's going on. He says, put it down and be in the moment. There will be a million pictures. Do you subscribe to that? I know it lasts minutes. What do you think?
Absolutely, because there'll be a million pictures all better than yours.
Yep.
Literally.
The only thing we're telling a lot of people, if you've never done this before, spend the first minute or two looking at the eclipse, or if you really are dead set on taking pictures, practice a lot before the eclipse. Don't try and do it the day of the eclipse because you'll miss everything.
Gotcha. Hey, let's run through the stages again real quick because a lot of folks, we just had a bunch of people come back into the room, or I should say arrive in the room. We welcome everybody in. We're going to show you one of the neatest videos I think that anybody's shared yet. And this is from the Buffalo Astronomical Association. They're the guest panel with me taking your questions. If you could just give this stream a like and a share if you like what you see. It is a fantastic resource for the eclipse coming up on the 8th. So let's go ahead and roll this as we bring this onto the screen. This was back in 2017, and it goes through the different parts of the eclipse. And the partial is, do you feel that everybody is more involved in the partial eclipse leading up to totality than after? Is there a difference between the two?
Yeah, after you're bored, you want to go home.
Yeah.
The party's over. But now a lot of the people out here, this is where the partial eclipse, what I likened it to was a New Year's Eve party where you're waiting for midnight, watching the clock. And then all of a sudden in that last couple minutes, you find out that time moves quick. I feel like that's going to happen here for a lot of people. They're going to be milling around, talking, enjoying. And then this last little bit of the eclipse, explain to me kind of how time moves quicker and then everything starts happening all at once. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. It'll be over before you know it. Take in every minute. Diamond ring, Bailey's beads, those events happen in the time frame of seconds. Totality is 3 minutes and 46 seconds, and it's going to go a lot faster than you imagine. I know it did in 2017. In fact, most people will comment on how it surprised them how fast it went.
Yeah. So the diamond ring and Bailey's beads, these two features really occur back to back. And can you give me a time frame in a matter of, is it seconds or a minute or?
Oh, it's a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
Well, the diamond ring is interesting because you're looking at the sun, and as it starts getting covered, you're seeing a bit of light, and it's getting smaller and smaller. So that starts off as a big piece of light that just keeps getting tinier and tinier, and then it kind of transitions into Bailey's beads. And we're talking about seconds as this is happening.
And that's when it's encircled by that ring of light. It has a duration. So this is going to happen almost at 3:17 and a half, 3:18, depending upon your latitude, where you're watching from. But this is the moment. So whatever you're doing, where do you want to be hunkered in, settled down? You want to be there by 3 o'clock at the latest, I would think, to enjoy that run up to the final moment.
Oh, probably want to be there about 2:30. Actually, yeah.
And there's one more phenomenon we haven't discussed yet, Andy, and that's shadow bands, which also occur prior to the eclipse being total. So just before totality, if you look on the ground, especially if you have like a white sheet or a white tarp, you'll notice, so it'll almost look like smoke passing by. And those are shadow bands caused by the sun being just a tiny slit interacting with our atmosphere. And you'll see them before and after. So that's another thing you want to look for.
So that's something where you're maybe going to look around and instead of just being fixated on the moon at that point, taking selfies with whoever you're with, at this point, look around and see how it's different than it is at twilight. Now, what would be the difference from a normal evening where the sun is sinking and you have a sunset compared to the solar eclipse?
It's going to be a lot similar to that. So the totality is going to look a lot like, 20 minutes, 30 minutes after sunset, when that sky's that blue purplish color, and you just start to see the brightest stars, and maybe if there's planets out, which there will be on eclipse day, you'll see those bright planets. That's what the sky will look like.
And the sunset and the sunrise will extend all around you. So it won't be just limited to the east or the west. It'll be everywhere.
Yeah, that's I haven't heard that. That's interesting. So
really weird. You don't get the orange that you get at sunset. It's almost like someone puts a big light dimmer on the sun, and everything kind of turns a steely gray, and the shadows get really neat looking.
Yeah, so we're watching the very compressed time lapse from the eclipse. That was you kind of get a sense where it begins to. Now, does it brighten pretty quickly after that? I mean, does it seem like it comes back rather rapidly?
Yeah, it came back pretty rapidly when I was there in 17. We actually got to watch the shadow roll through the valley.
That's neat. Here's one from Barb. She says, what's the chance for a clear day in Buffalo? Statistically speaking, Barb, we don't have good luck with this one. This is one where most of the time, more than 50% of the time, we end up with clouds for a good chunk of the day. There's still a chance that the right weather system moves through and we end up with a clear day, but it's really just kind of the roll of the dice on whether or not we're going to have clouds at that moment. And frankly, even if you had clouds during the partial, I think you guys would trade clouds during the partial for a break in the clouds during the totality just for those 4 minutes. You'd trade it all.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's It's one other thing. Sometimes during totality, as you get closer there, you get less convection heating. Some of the lower fluffy clouds will start to dissipate. When you saw that video of the whole eclipse there, you'll notice the clouds are at the beginning of the eclipse and towards the end of the eclipse, but in the middle of the eclipse, they disappeared. At least they disappeared for us overhead. You can see the clouds there on the horizon.
And then right above it.
Overhead.
Yeah. Hey, here's one. Warren has a question, and we're taking everybody's questions. If you want to pop them in pop them into your screen, we're asking our panel live. Would Clarence or Lancaster be more in the direct path for a longer total eclipse? Would there be a difference between Clarence and Lancaster? What do you think?
I can take that one, being the guy who's been walking the center line. I can tell you this, Warren, that I've spent more time in Lancaster than Clarence, because Lancaster is on the center line after it leaves the lakeshore. It goes right over the high school, actually, and it goes right past Genesee Street and heads toward the Lancaster Speedway. But the Clarence rest stop is also on the center line of the thruway, too. So if you're talking about, the east of Clarence, that's good, but Lancaster's got the center line going through up by where I mentioned.
Gotcha. Hey, Carla wants to know if the last eclipse was 1925. Was the big eclipse in the what was the big eclipse in the mid-70s? She remembers it was a big deal.
That was probably in 79 because it went through Oregon, up through the Dakotas, and up by Winnipeg.
Yeah, it was just a partial here.
Yeah, it was a partial here, but it was total in that neck of the woods because I was in Brandon, Manitoba at the time.
Arlene wants to know, will the street lights go on? Thanks for the question, Arlene. If anybody else has questions, feel free to pop them in. We're grabbing them live. There's a couple of spots. We can get them in as soon as you can. What do you think about street lights?
Yes, street lights more than likely will go on. And the thing is, you don't want to be around or underneath or have the street light between you and nearby the eclipsed sun because it's going to get in your eyes. So you do want to pay attention where the street lights are.
Gotcha. Hey, coming in from Minnesota to stay with a family near Syracuse, hoping for a great experience. What's the word on Syracuse? Will they have any action with the event out there?
Syracuse is just inside the path of totality, but the center line is in Lake Ontario.
From what I see, Syracuse will have 1 minute 27 seconds of totality, so you'll probably want to drive a little bit north.
Yeah, yep. You want to get on 81 north and head towards Watertown.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So if you're almost on center line.
So if you're in Syracuse, it's not Buffalo, but you just want to drive north a little bit, and it's a much quicker connection to the center line.
Yeah, Watertown is where center line goes. Lake Placid is not a bad place to be. Oswego. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You want to be north of Pulaski.
Yeah.
Excellent. Hey, if everybody out there watching gives a quick like and a share, people that just came into the room watching the solar eclipse special, if you could do that, hit the button right now. It takes 1 second of your life to like and share this so we can get the information out to everybody watching out there. Hey, I want to take our panel through a couple of the scheduled stops, if you will, for April 8th. So you're having breakfast at home. You don't notice a thing, right? And then you grab lunch, an early lunch, and then is that the time to head out, do you think? Or is traffic kind of a mess on the beginning of this as well? What do you think?
If clear, I think you want to get out to your location fairly early. If cloudy, all bets are off. We don't know how many people are going to show up, but there's a lot of people who've made, and they're just going to plain show whether it's clear or not.
If it's clear, bag your lunch.
Yeah, bag the lunch and go. And then 318, it begins with a bunch of fanfare there. That last little bit of light, you get about 3 minutes and change to walk around and experience it without the glasses on. And that's really the sweet spot where everybody wants to feel that, again, you can you wear the glasses at the partial. And then let's talk about the safety of it and the glasses specifically at this point.
Basically, you need to wear the glasses during all the partial phases. The issue is going to be if we have the partially cloudy skies. If you can't see your shadow, you're not going to be able to see the sun through the eclipse glasses. And that becomes problematic. And in that case, I really advise people to use their cell phones and look at the screen on their cell phone, point their cell phone at the sun. And when you can see your shadow again, get your cell phone off the sun, put your glasses back on. except for totality. Once you hit totality, glasses off.
Glasses off and you're good to go. I know Sherry heard you mentioning you walked the center line. She says, where can I find the center line? Is it painted?
Yeah, well, there's actually a movement to try to do just that, but that I don't think that went very well. But no, you can visit some of the maps. Mr. Eclipse has a good map. Xavier Jubier has a good map that shows the center line, so you can actually track it. We can probably paste some links in here for people too.
Yeah, we will add some links in the comments here. Here's an interesting one. All right, this is a thinker. I'll read it, and you guys can see who wants to grab this one. Help Marty out. He says if he has a chance to be in Cleveland or Buffalo for the eclipse, and the weather forecast is for fewer clouds in Cleveland, would you do Cleveland?
Yeah, the day before, if the weather forecast Cleveland being better, I think I'd be heading towards Cleveland.
Again, it's worth the trip, even down the thruway, 2.5 hours to see this. For you guys, that's a no-brainer.
I drove 15.
Totally.
Sure.
I drove 15 hours to the 2017 eclipse.
Yep,
15 hours.
Yep.
Wow. Town of Tonawanda. Here's another question from Marianne. She wants to know, is it visible from Tonawanda as well? Assuming you have the same skies.
Yes. Yep. You're only going to lose about 2 seconds of totality. So if you can live with that, I think you'd be great.
Gotcha. Here's one from Kelly. She says, I thought you weren't supposed to take pictures because you couldn't do it with glasses on.
If you're using your cell phone or a digital camera where you have a digital viewfinder, not an optical viewfinder, if you've got your Eclipse glasses in front of your cell phone lenses, all of them, so you don't fry anything in there, and use the Solar Snap app, you should be able to take the pictures just fine of partial phases. During total, you don't need to worry about it. Total, you do not need a filter.
You got it. Anybody know where to go with an RV?
Wherever it's clear.
Yes.
Wherever it's clear and in the path of totality.
I guess you're in an RV, Thomas. You're a rolling viewing party, right? You can just
betcha.
Take us.
Yeah, we're the RV's running.
Pick up the crew from the Buffalo Astronomical Society. They're the ones answering the questions here, providing all the great information to everybody out there. We thank everybody for the questions tonight. Again, give it a like and a share if you enjoy what you see out there. If you want to know more, go ahead and pop it in the rail. We're answering the questions as we get them. This is an interesting one. So Tap wants to know, where in the nation are most of the viewers expected to gather? So I'll rewind this. We can see the different places. That line goes from, what do we have? What's the biggest city on the near center line?
Buffalo.
Yeah.
I thought not Dallas, huh?
Dallas just mix it.
So Buffalo is if we go, Buffalo is the only major city directly on the center line?
That's right.
That's correct.
Wow.
But there are major cities within the path of totality. Dallas is just off center line. Cleveland's just off center line. Most folks are probably going to gather. The dedicated eclipse chasers, a lot of them are going to Texas or Mexico.
And the reason that they'd go to Texas and Mexico is why?
Better chance of clear skies and a little bit longer duration. The center of the eclipse is in Mexico, and it's about 4 minutes, 28 seconds. So the further you get from center of the eclipse in either direction, the shorter totality is. So the closer you are to Mexico, the longer totality will be.
Further you get from the clouds, the better. Is there a detailed map online where you can see where totality is? Cheryl asked. Anybody want to throw something out? We'll put them in the comments immediately following this, but you guys want to maybe verbally point her in the right direction?
Yeah, MrEclipse.com is one place to go. If she uses that website, or at least goes to Google's that, it'll get there. And they have an active Google map where you can click on the map. It'll show you the eclipse track. And if you click on the map where your location is, it gives you the time of the eclipse. The exact time of the eclipse.
And here, Bob says he drove 2,200 miles last time. A lot shorter trip to Cleveland than Greenland. I would say so. Kelly wants to know, is this going to be replayed? Absolutely. You'll be able to go back and see everything right from the top. We do a good job of explaining as much as we can right out of the gate. Here's one from Karen. She says, how is watching at Grantwit Park and the Niagara River in North Tonawanda going to be?
That should be all right. Seems to me they've got a southwest view from Grantwit Park.
And will the temperature go up afterwards? We talked about how the temperatures will drop at the time of totality. I think we even included it here in one of our bullet points, is that you'll actually notice that the temperature does cool off. And you mentioned between 10 and 20 degrees, so it's not just a degree or two, but does it return as quick as it disappears?
Not quite. It actually continues to cool slightly after totality, just like when we have the first day of winter. And that's December 21st. It doesn't really get the coldest until you get into January. Same thing with summer. You get the first day of summer. It doesn't get the hottest. So there's a time lag on it.
You got it. Hey, here's another one. Will animals and pets act differently? I know we touched on this a little bit before. I think you said humans act more differently than the animals do, right?
So animals are going to think, wild animals like birds, for instance, are going to think it's time to roost, time to go to bed. They're going to be tricked to thinking it's into nighttime, but that's about the only activity. Also, want to mention Mike and Tim are in the waiting room for some reason. So.
Oh, okay. Let's bring them back in here. They popped out. Excellent. Thank you. There we go.
Hey.
Now we got the whole gang back together here. Let's see. Here it goes. Can you explain why the temperature drops and how many degrees it will be? This is, again, a very popular question. A lot of people want to know about it, so we'll put it out there again. Everybody who just came into the room, we just had a bunch of people enter the stream that we're doing tonight, and maybe you've seen the post or you got the text. Here it is. It's if you could just like and share it. It's take 1 second. We'll answer all your questions. We have the Buffalo Astronomical Society fielding everything that you throw at them, and this is one that came up a couple times. But why does the temperature drop, and how much?
Well, the temperature drops because the moon is blocking your source of light and heat. You learn real fast who the boss of the climate is when that happens. But it's just with the blockage of the heat source, complete change in temperature.
Yeah, you're looking at 10 to 20 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. What was the eclipse? Debbie wants to know, a few years ago in 2021, that was early in the morning, just after sunrise. Many of us at Hamlin Beach State Park in Lake Ontario, it did not get dark. Was there something in 2021?
Yes, that was an annular eclipse that occurred mostly up in the northern regions of Canada. We were actually up on the roof of the Science Museum with the media. That was after COVID, and we watched that from up there, and we just caught it. The sun rose in annularity, so there's just a single column of light that came up for sunrise that day. The weirdest sunrise ever.
Yeah. And now the difference between, this is very basic, but we'll put it up here. The solar eclipse setup here is different than the lunar. Anybody want to do a quick description? I'll work the graphics, so you guys just explain the two things.
So this is the solar eclipse schematic, and this occurs during new moon, special new moons, when the orbit of the moon intersects special nodes, which give us these eclipses. So we've got the sun, the moon casting a shadow on the Earth.
And then you flip it around for the lunar, right?
Yep. Now you have the moon is in the Earth shadow. And as you can see, the moon is much smaller than the Earth. So the entirety of the moon can be cast in the shadow.
All right. Another talking about planets here. What planets will we be able to see that we ordinarily do not? Is there anything that we would not, or we would see during an eclipse that we would not normally see?
Nope.
Well, seeing them in the afternoon is the difference. So you'll see Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto. Those are out there, but you might need a telescope. So it's the same stuff. It's just that you're seeing it in the afternoon.
It's what's odd is that all of the planets will be out there, but like Mike said, the ones that are telescopic, you won't be able to see. But it's kind of unique that they're all going to be there.
Will there be the comet in the sky? Is it a comet that's moving through?
Yes,
Oh,
Comet 12P, Pons Brooks is going to be by Jupiter. It's unlikely the skies will be dark enough for you to be able to see the comet naked eye, but if you're taking a longer exposure wide field photograph where you're able to capture, for instance, Jupiter and the sun, the comet might show up in that long exposure photograph.
That's really neat. Here's an interesting one. I hadn't thought of this. Has an eclipse ever deviated even a tad from the expectations concerning time? Does Mother Nature keep a good watch?
Mother Nature keeps an excellent watch, and Fred's times are on the money. They don't change.
I read an article from 1925 that made a claim that the eclipse was 4 seconds tardy, and it made it seem like how dare it be late. But that was then.
Yeah, we've got a much better reckoning of how close the moon is, so we know the moon's orbit to a much more exacting degree.
Yep.
So we've got it down to the second, and there's no doubt about it. That's awesome. I'm glad that it does that. We'll do this again. We just have a few more people popped in. We're going to wrap this up. I think we've almost reached an hour point, and everything is going to be back in the video that will replay this. You can come back to it as often as you want. But let's take people kind of from soup to nuts, and I'll let you kind of go through a couple of the things here as we look at the solar schedule from after lunch. Get to where you want to be at least by 2 o'clock is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, traffic is going to be crazy.
If it's going to be clear out that day, I'd be on site a lot sooner than that.
Oh yeah.
If it's cloudy and you got to figure out Saturday and Sunday on how the traffic looks, if it's clear out, it's going to be very interesting.
And then by the time we get to 3:16, 3:17, at that point, quit walking. Just wherever you happen to be, that's going to be your spot, because it's not going to wait for you.
That's correct. And you're going to want to make sure you got a good view to the southwest, because you want to be able to make sure you see totality and it's not blocked by trees or a house.
That will be key. Yeah, it would be a real bummer if you're waiting out there. If you can't see the sun, you're not going to see the eclipse. So that's a good point to it. And it lasts just a couple of minutes and it's gone. So now the partial eclipse, this is the longest piece of the puzzle, and we get to see it twice, right?
Right. Yeah, because you see it on the way in and on the way out.
And it takes more than an hour. And then when do you think it becomes noticeable, the partial?
Yeah,
this is what's interesting. If you have glasses, when it's a very small percentages, you'll look up and you'll see a tiny bite out of the sun. So it's actually pretty quick. And it's just making sure you just take a look at it and you'll see. It'll look just like this little Pac-Man you have here.
And then that's what we see on the screen. The temperature gradually decreases. Obviously, we're wearing our glasses here, because even a chunk of the sun missing, it is still enough to burn your eyes. And then we get to this piece here where the moon is kind of taking over the sun. Tell me about this moment.
Yeah, this is the diamond ring. Again, you should be able to catch it through your glasses. You won't necessarily see the diamond ring portion, but it's best to wait until it's totally eclipsed going into the eclipse before you take your glasses off and catch the diamond ring and Bailey's beads on the way out.
And the diamond ring occurs, it only is for a few seconds. And why is this? Is it that the sun is an odd shape, or is there something to do with the surface of the moon?
Well, it's got all to do with the surface of the moon. When you get the diamond ring is the last major portion of the sun that's disappearing. And then you get the lunar valleys, and the lunar valleys let these little beads of sunlight through until they totally cover the sun. They call those Bailey's beads. And
why do they call them Bailey's beads, I guess, is the next question. Who got to name that?
Mr. Bailey discovered them. Yeah. At least he's the one.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
That's why his beads.
As in science, I always tell kids, if you come up with a great discovery or a cool invention like the Van de Graaff or Bailey's beads, feel free to name it after yourself, right?
You got it.
Now that whole sequence is going to happen as camera photographers. We'll be taking our filters off about 20 seconds before totality to capture these events. So diamond ring and Bailey's beads will happen within 20 seconds before totality and after totality.
Gotcha. And then once we hit totality, I want to look at the very edge. I'm going to bring this full. Let everybody take a peek. The very edge of that picture, and those look like flares. Is that something that would be visible to people?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Oh, very definitely. And you'll watch them change shape and size as the moon slides across. That during totality is one of the things you want to have your binoculars and take a look at. They'll be quite spectacular. And the sun's very active, so there's a lot of them on it now.
Now, it was really hard to tell, and you kind of have to get your head around it. Some of those flares are larger than the Earth, so we could fit, in some cases, 40, 50 Earths. Sometimes it's just 10, but they are massive. And there's just reasons why, because you say the moon is so small, but those are huge when you stop and think about it.
Yeah, you can fit 108 Earths across the diameter of the sun. So that gives you an idea of the scale.
Now, I would not have expected that they would be moving. I would have thought more like you look at a cloud, and if you watch it for 4 or 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, you notice something, but you think there'll actually be action around the outer perimeter. That's awesome.
Actually,
yeah, it's going to be there. Yeah,
you'll see them being uncovered or covered up by the moon, so you'll see them change that way. If we have a major eruption on the edge of the sun exactly at totality, which may or may not happen, then you actually might see something moving. That would be very rare.
And now, if for some reason you blinked and you missed it, you get a second shot at the Bailey's beads after about 4 minutes of totality. If you missed it the first time around, you'll get to peek at it, but you've got to get those, as you mentioned before, you got to get the glasses ready at about 3:21 and change, right?
We actually recommend viewing the Bailey's beads and diamond ring at the end because they are brighter. They will disrupt your night vision. So it's best to take those glasses off when you can't see any of the sun, and then enjoy totality, and then catch Bailey's beads and the diamond ring on the back end. And by the diamond ring, you should be putting your glasses back on.
So here we go. This is the partial eclipse, and I love the way you describe this, and I think it's a neat. People are going to want to get those glasses off, and you're saying just wait till it goes dark, then take them off, enjoy that totality, and then you're going to get ready to put them on and catch the Bailey's beads and diamond ring at the very end, right?
Yep,
that's correct.
And this one, this picture here is a little bit enhanced, right? Or is that just tell me about this picture where you can actually see the craters on the moon?
That's what it would look like if you put a pair of binoculars on it during totality. It would look basically just like that.
Yeah, and that's the Earth being lit up by, that's the moon in Earth shine. So it's light coming off the Earth, going up and hitting the moon and just bouncing back.
Wow. Heather wants to know, does an eclipse have any effect on the lake or ocean tides?
No more than it normally does.
Oh. Gotcha.
I mean, it's a new moon, and it would act just like a new moon. You would not get any increase or decrease.
All right. Well, guys and gentlemen and ladies, I appreciate everybody taking their time out of their evening on Friday to go through all of this. And we had a ton of questions in here. Anybody who is still in here and would like to give us a like and a share on the way out of this, please do. It helps us out greatly to kind of get this information out there. It was my pleasure to host. I learned a bunch of things, and I'm going to help. It'll help me to explain it to other people as well. I've enjoyed my time. I know everybody who's come through. We've had a lot of positive comments as well. I would like to extend my great thanks to our crew from the Buffalo Astronomical Association. All the links that we've mentioned today and a few more are going to be posted in the comments on this link. So if you ever want to revisit it, feel free to do so. It'll live there in its totality until the big day. So I limited myself to just one pun on this one, and I'm hoping that we do get clear skies for the event, because it would definitely be a legendary situation. So on behalf of
Andy,
myself,
can I mention something real quick?
Go ahead.
Just in case anybody has questions that we didn't get a chance to talk to tonight, we're going to be at the Galleria tomorrow. We'll have a setup. A lot of us will be there, and we will be able to talk to you a little bit more, give a little bit more explanations if you want that, and just really there to have some fun and just talk to you about different things. We have the Galleria. Then the next weekend we'll be at the library, and then on the 6th we will be at Beaver Meadow for public night, and again doing the same thing, answering questions and seeing what you have and addressing concerns.
That is great.
Andy, we would never do more puns than you. We would not want to eclipse you on your own.
Dropping the hammer at the last minute. Well, I am certainly in your shadow, without a doubt. I have no nothing there. We will include the links. It's a great organization. You can actually join and become a member. And if you'd like to keep your heads in the clouds and your eye on the sky, it's a great way to do it. What an awesome event. Again, I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule on this Friday to answer all the questions for everybody in Western New York. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again next time.